Good morning, Bucknutters. Welcome to the Bucknuts Morning Five here on Friday, June 28th, 2019. I am Dave Biddle. Very happy to be joined by Jonah Booker for his usual Friday visit. JBook, always great to talk to you. Looks like Darrion Henry Day is tomorrow. The number 2 player in Ohio is expected to make his announcement on Saturday. I don't care what anybody says, and I know this has been like people have known he's probably going to be a Buckeye for a while. I don't care that his rating dropped a little bit or a lot. He's still the number 2 player in Ohio. Anytime the Buckeyes land the number 2 player in Ohio, it's a big deal.
I agree. I think it's going to be a huge gift for Larry Johnson and Ryan Day, who's keeping the train rolling. I know Darrion Henry is having a big party celebration tomorrow to announce this decision and having a big party with the community. So all signs are pointing to it being Ohio State, him staying in state. I know Parris Johnson has sent out a tweet to him over the weekend telling him, let's go win some championships together. So that has to feel good for Ohio State fans there, knowing that their big guy, number 1 offensive tackle, is trying to get Darrion Henry in the fold as well. So this one looks like it's going to be a major win, pulling him out of Cincinnati. Obviously, you always want to keep your fingers crossed when you're recruiting Cincinnati, but just getting him in the fold and getting him developed under Larry Johnson is going to be a major boom for this program.
Yeah, it's also going to be a major boon that Parris Johnson has basically reaffirmed his commitment, and that is just absolutely huge. I mean, the number 1 player in the state of Ohio, and even more importantly than that, the number 1 offensive tackle in the country. I'm sure most of the listeners of the show know that, but if you don't know, Parris Johnson, who now is high school teammates with Darrion Henry at Cincinnati Princeton after Parris Johnson transferred from Cincinnati St. Xavier, number 1 offensive tackle recruit in the country, according to the 24/7 Sports Composite, number 8 player overall, and had a very close relationship with Urban Meyer, and really took him aback when Urban Meyer stepped down, and that the Buckeyes are going to get the number 1 player in the state, number 2 player in the state, and a bunch of other good players in the state of Ohio is huge. One of those players so Darrion Henry is going to be number 14 in the class, looks like tomorrow when he makes his announcement. In fact, it will be. He will be number 14 in the class. Joe Royer is going to be next, I think. I think he'll be number 15, and I think number 16 will be Cameron Martinez. Cameron Martinez is the safety / athlete from Michigan, Muskegon, Michigan. Joe Royer, for those who don't know, tight end from Cincinnati, who beat out Luke Lachey for an offer. So JBook, it looks like Cameron Martinez and Joe Royer are going to be the next 2, and they're going to be up to 16 before we know it.
Yeah, and the one thing with Joe Royer, as you mentioned, he beat out Luke Lachey for an offer, and it looks like Lachey is going to head over to Iowa. But you have to respect Ryan Day and the coaching staff that they didn't give into the pressure of offering a legacy, especially, with the last name Lachey. He could have easily fielded an offer from Ohio State just because he's a legacy kid, but they felt like Royer was the better prospect that will fit their offense a little bit better. Hopefully, when he gets in here, he would develop, and they made the right decision because obviously, when you're talking about tight ends going to Iowa, they've done a heck of a job over the last several years to develop them. Especially, they just sent the guy in the first round, Noah Fant, to Detroit. So hopefully, Ohio State did make the right. What did you say?
They had 2 first-round tight ends. Hawkinson too. They had 2 first-round tight ends.
Yeah, you're right. Two first-round tight ends. So, if we can look back, 4 years down the road and decide that did Ohio State make the right decision, which I'm going to trust their evaluation on this one.
No doubt, JBook. And even if it was kind of close, but they definitely preferred Royer, but we're going to take Luke Lachey because it's kind of close. I mean, it was really close, I think, in Ohio State's mind. They really love Royer. Maybe it wasn't that close, but it was at least close. It'd be one thing if Royer was just head and shoulders above Lachey, but they liked Lachey a lot. And to your point, I'm with you 100%. That shows a lot about Ryan Day, because I'm sure his heart wanted to go with Luke Lachey, but they took the better player, and politics be damned. And I love Jim Lachey, so big part of me feels bad that happened, but I'm happy. The bigger part of me is happy that Ohio State's doing the right thing and going for the better player. Speaking of a really good player, excellent player, Bijan Robinson. I can't wait to hear your take on this. The 5-star running back. It looks good, but then you have, people that we love, like Bill Bank-Green, Bill Kurlick. They like Ohio State's chances, but they're stopping short of putting their crystal ball in Ohio State. You have many others, though, in the industry putting their crystal ball in Ohio State. Looks like an Ohio State versus Texas battle for Bijan Robinson from Tucson, Arizona. What are your thoughts, my man?
Yeah, I'm cautiously optimistic here. You can start to feel the momentum build up. You obviously are hoping that Ohio State really closes the deal here because they absolutely need a prime time back here. It's a classic six-shooter battle between Tom Herman and Ryan Day here. And I also look at it as an underlying battle with Tony Alford and Stan Drayton. And if some of our Bucknuts members, venture over to the Texas 24/7 board. It's been some fascinating reading there. Stan Drayton left Ohio State in really high regards when he went to the Chicago Bears. And just reading some of their fans' comments, it seems like Stan Drayton is really struggling to get wins when it comes to running backs down there recruiting wise. And they really haven't developed the running backs that they really want to because you look at the success that Stan had with Carlos Hyde and Ezekiel Elliott here at Ohio State. Texas thought they were going to start getting that similar type of production from Drayton down in Texas, and that hasn't been the case. In fact, they're saying that Stan has struggled so much on the recruiting trail that it's actually Tim Beck who is leading the charge recruiting Bijan Robinson to Texas. They wanted to put him on the case because they believe Tim Beck is their ace recruiter here, and they absolutely need a home run back for their offense as well. But if you take the words and the comments coming out of the recent camp down there with the Rivals 5-Star Challenge, a lot of people are saying the whispers and the gossip coming out of there is Ohio State is out in front right now. And previously, Texas was sitting pretty well, but Ohio State's absolutely made a move here. And I know a lot of recruits are coming out saying that they think Robinson is leaning towards Ohio State. Obviously, nothing is a done deal. But if we can get Lathan Ransom in the fold as teammate, I think that's going to be a big help, which that looks like that's going to be the case here as well. But fingers crossed with Robinson. We absolutely need him. I think he will fit this offense like a glove. He's a guy that, can catch the ball in the backfield. He's a big back right now, 6'1", 210. He can get up to about 220, 225 once he gets in the strength and conditioning program. But he's a guy that can, put the trumpets up in the air, the band's playing the fight song, because if he gets a crease, he's going to take one to the house.
Yeah, I love him. I mean, you look at his film, and he's a guy that can do everything you'd want a running back to do. And then you wonder, well, wait, maybe what are his hands like? And what's his feel for the passing game? Next level. I mean, this is a guy that has great hands, and so he can do it all. He would be a great fit for this offense. And I know Ohio State's probably getting negatively recruited like hell, saying, oh, this is a pass-happy offense. Yeah, it's just a great offense. Even with the best passing quarterback in school history last season, Dwayne Haskins, even with Ohio State throwing for about 5,000 yards, throwing for 50 touchdowns, they still had a 1,000-yard runner in J.K. Dobbins and a 900-plus yard runner in Mike Weber. They almost had 2,000-yard backs when they were a complete pass-happy offense. So they're not going to have any going forward.
And I'll tell you this, if Texas is throwing that out there in regards to, Ohio State being a pass-happy offense, I mean, they're basically pointing out their weakness on their end. Their running game has been atrocious under Tom Herman the last several years. If you look at them, their quarterback was pretty much their leading rusher, and it's not like their quarterback was a dual threat guy. He's okay. He's average when it comes to being able to.
JT Barrett Jr. Very distant cousin.
Yeah, JT Barrett light, but it's not like they've had a 1,000-yard rusher. One time over the last 10 years, Ohio State has had 7 of them in the fold or something similar to like that. So if Texas is throwing that card out there, then they're absolutely foolish because their offense and being able to develop running backs has been lackluster.
Yeah, Sam Ehlinger, also known as Baker Mayfield's best friend. I mean, he's only going to be a junior this year. He'll end up putting up like a good college career, no doubt. He even had a good year last year. But yeah, I'd still take JT Barrett over Sam Ehlinger, and we'll see what happens. But yeah, you mentioned Lathan Ransom. I do think he'll be in the class for sure. You have Bill Bent Green saying he's in. You have the dean Bill Kurlick saying he's in. And it looks great for Lathan Ransom, as you mentioned, Bijan Robinson's high school teammate. What I want to ask you, JBook, who are a couple of uncommitted recruits in this 2020 class that Ohio State is in on that you really have your eye on?
Yeah, obviously, a lot of people thought that Ohio State was starting to slip when it came to Keely Ringo right out from my back door here in Scottsdale, Arizona. and I know that a lot of people are pegging him towards Georgia, but he recently announced his top 5 with Ohio State in there. I think the Buckeyes are still fighting from behind here, but they absolutely have a legit shot. In fact, Bijan Robinson was asked this past week who he thought that Ringo would commit to, and he actually picked Ohio State. So, the scuttlebug is there a little bit of talk amongst the Arizona guys for Robinson to come out and want to pick Ohio State for Ringo? And that, if that's the case, talk about a major boom. And then another guy that's been really flowing under the radar, just kind of popped up from Bijan Robinson, who threw his name out there, who he thought could be following a bunch of them to Ohio State, is Justin Flo, the #1 inside linebacker on 24/7, 5-star out of California. There's been zero chatter in regards to this guy in Ohio State, and for whatever reason, Bijan Robinson felt that he is going to choose Ohio State when it's all said and done. Now, that could be, just a huge Bijan calling his shot, pointing it back to left field type of deal. But I found that, fairly interesting that the #1 inside linebacker, 5-star guy, another 5-star running back, is saying he thinks he's going to be a Buckeye. So I thought that was pretty fascinating. If that happens, talk about breaking Twitter. Ohio State fans will absolutely lose their mind.
Mark Pantoni's going to have to be typing a lot of booms. Nothing wrong with that. Last thing, let's switch gears and look at the 2019 season itself. The Buckeyes are very talented. First year of the Ryan Day era. For the regular season alone, the 12-game regular season, where would you put the over-under for Ohio State's wins?
I know Las Vegas has it at 9 wins, over and under there. But me personally, I think this is a 11-win football team. So I would take the over there. If I was setting the line, I would say put it at 10. I think there's a couple trap games in there that they have to be careful with. Obviously, playing at Nebraska is going to be a tough game, because I truly believe Scott Frost will have that Nebraska team rolling with Martinez there. I think he's going to be a stud in this Big Ten conference.
I feel the same way. I'm sorry to just real quick. I feel the exact same way. That at Nebraska game is going to be tough. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, and when you look at that Nebraska game, it's followed up with Michigan State. So I think that's your little trap games right there between that Nebraska game and that Michigan State game. Those are 2 potential games for Ohio State could stub their toe if they're not careful there. And I know that Michigan State game's at home. I expect that Nebraska game will probably be a night game, considering it's typically always a night game whenever Ohio State plays at Nebraska. I look at this team as an 11-1 type of football team with a shot to the playoffs. Obviously, Ohio State has the best roster in the Big Ten. There's still a lot of question marks about Ryan Day in his full game season coaching abilities, as well as the defense. If the defense is going to come along like everyone is expecting them to be, they should be favored in every game besides the Michigan game, which Vegas right now doesn't have them favored in the Michigan game. And it seems like for the last 5 years, Ohio State hasn't been favored in that Michigan game, and they absolutely dog walk those guys, as Parris Campbell would like to say.
I love it. I love it. Great stuff, as always, from Jonah Booker. You are the man, JBook. Really appreciate your time. And just to let everybody know, I will be on assignment the next 2 weeks, so I will see everybody the middle of July, Bucknutters. Let's try that Buckeye swag, best damn band in the land.